The front wheel is broken due to the wheel shaft. This causes the wheel to not be able to move normally, but in Pakistan, you can't buy imported accessories, so Lao Bao sent it to their ancient-style repair shop. He wanted to have the master weld the broken surface, but after a careful inspection of the master, he found that the shaft is parallel to the wheel shaft. The degree of synchronization of the welding is not only not met, but also causes the length of the shaft. After the master uses a steel ruler to measure the length, the master will mark the length of the shaft. In order to make the shaft work, the uneven surface of the wheel hub needs to be processed by the car bed. The main purpose is to make the rough surface of the shaft smooth. In the premise that the shaft needs to be adjusted, the remaining shaft needs to be assembled. The cylinder is very long and needs to be cut in half. The whole outer diameter is based on the data of the cylinder. The cylinder is continuously cut and glued, but the cylinder is too long and will affect the strength of the flower tip. The master needs to adjust the position of the flower tip with a saw to prevent any interference with the hole. Then he can cut the hair of the flower tip with a chisel to reduce the difficulty of the hammering. After the master's quick and skilled operation, the two ends of the flower tip are in line with the requirements of the joint. In order to make the hollow part of the flower tip, the master needs to make a hole in the center of the hollow part of the half shaft. This hole is the key to the joint. Then replace the drill bit with the hole number, expand the whole core, make the inner diameter of the hole depth consistent with the joint to prevent the joint from existing in the inside, but because this time there is no row in connection, so the data of the second hand must be strictly sealed while the master is repeatedly measuring. It is also necessary to use the internal hole knife to repeatedly adjust until the inner diameter of the hole-in-one meets the requirement. After confirming that there is no error, the flower tip is compared with the original pillar. In the case of perfect connection between the two, the other end is copied out of the same hole-in-one. After the gear axis and the half axis of the boom are processed, the original pillar can now be connected to the hole-in-one. Although the surface of the flower tip is coated with grease, it is also because of the long-term retention of the original pillar. Even if the hammer is constantly hit, the flower tip pillar cannot be attached to the bottom of the hole. In the case that the hammer cannot be inserted, the flower arrow end must be used to use the high-cost leaf pressure machine to press the original column of the flower arrow constantly until the two steps are completely attached, in order to prevent the half axis of the joint from loosening. The joint surface that has been connected at this time must be used to use the Rowan knife to cut the joint twice. The main purpose is to expand the joint area of the gap. The three-piece jointed gear shaft is welded as a whole, but because the half-axis outer diameter of the replacement is larger than the original, the master not only needs to cut the surface, the uneven welding is also removed to achieve the effect of giving light to the surface to restore the appearance of the original gear shaft. And after the master's adjustment to the details, then this gear shaft that can no longer be used, it was simply repaired by the master. How do you feel about the strength of such a joint?